I've been on Craigslist before, and the main thing that people usually say is no one over 30 or no one over 40 or something. You can tell they've been burned in the past where they've been like, yeah, we're looking for a guitar player, and then maybe they have like a 50-year-old dude show up who like knows what he's doing,
God.
but they're like, this guy doesn't fit in with us.
Listen, Larry, your brand just doesn't really match our aesthetic.
Exactly. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of PsychoActivision Presents. I'm your host, Peter Strickland, and we've got another great interview for you today. Before we get started, I wanted to ask you to please like this video on YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts, please rate and review us. It only takes a second, and we really appreciate it. For today's episode, we have the bass player of my favorite Atlanta band, and I'm really excited to interview him. The band is Crispin Wah, and the man is Bruther Brown. Hello, Bruther Brown.
Thanks for having me, man.
It's good to have you here. What's up? How you been doing lately?
Great. Just been living.
You guys just released a single, and I've really been enjoying it. It's my favorite of the hip hop, collaboration series that y'all been doing.
Saying that, yeah. So I mean, it's a good thing to only get better,
Yeah.
Just keep progressing with every single one. The next one's going to be even better. So
Yeah. So you guys already have another one planned.
yeah. We try to keep one in the chamber.
Awesome. That's awesome. I think one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about is kind of Crispin Wah and genre. And it's not that I'm not trying to I talk about genre a lot on the podcast, like with different people. I'm just kind of fascinated with it. And the reason I bring that up is when I first listened to y'all about 3 years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago when I first moved to Atlanta, I never necessarily would have paired y'all up with hip hop. I wouldn't have said, hey, get a rapper on this beat and everything. And it was just because of the recordings I saw. Like, for example, my introduction to y'all really was the Blood Feast performances that y'all did. You had a bunch of the videos on YouTube. I remember a couple of my friends, that also moved to Atlanta around the same time as me. We were trying to find bands to listen to, and I was like, I found this band through Instagram, and they did a performance on Adult Swim, and I showed it to them. I think that for anyone who's trying to find y'all's music, even though y'all have kind of, you've got a lot of stuff going on, I think that the Blood Feast stuff is one of the best introductions to it, because the visuals kind of just play into the music so well. It's even better than your live show because there was the green screen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so were you asking the genre
I guess more what I'm saying is when you guys kind of created your own genre of Shredgaze is what you coined, but really what I'm asking is when you talk to people and they're like, well, what is Shredgaze? Or what does Crispin Wah sound like? What do you describe it as?
First of all, I say Shredgaze, and then I say, if you ever heard of shoegaze, most of them are like, no.
Yeah.
So then it becomes a little more challenging, but most people know what shoegaze is if they listen to music, and then you just add shred elements on top of that. But recently, yeah, like what you said, we've kind of been moving into new territory with it was hard to get in the same room the past couple of years, all of us, because one of us lives out of town. So I guess working remotely kind of molded that taste in that way, because that's all you're able to do is record this from home, send it. Okay, well, I'll chop that up how I like it, send it back, put some drums on it. That's kind of the result of a remote process. So we were kind of just working with what we had, and now we're getting the chance to release it. But back to the Blood Feast point, I think it is a little bit indicative that we heavily rely on visuals, and because we're an instrumental band, so there's just no lyrics to hang on to, so you got to have that visual element. And yeah, we try to make the live show a little bit different than what's on record, just because it's more fun to assimilate a track that's already been done and be like, well, how can we take this into a band setting and make this a new thing to where when people come out to the show, it's an even more immersive experience.
Yeah. I've always enjoyed, I've seen y'all live probably more than any Atlanta band, and I've enjoyed, really what's so interesting to me is that y'all have the visuals so synced up so well with the songs. To a point where it's I love it. Just because
I hope it doesn't seem too mechanical. But.
No. I mean, like to me, not at all. Because like, anytime I've seen bands where the visuals were a little bit more purposefully chaotic, like they it was like, let's see if we'll play these and see if they match up to the music. But I think that the music being kind of synced up with the visuals, I love that look. I mean, that to me is.
I think it adds a little bit extra layer of care. Where like if you get to notice that, you're like, these guys care about what they do.
Well, and you guys also have like some interesting visuals where you use a lot of stock footage, a lot of stuff from maybe the 90s that is
stuff that's near and dear to our hearts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I've seen definitely compilations that y'all have done where I can't remember, what was the fisherman guy that
Bill Dance.
Yeah.
My grandpa used to watch him all the time. I mean, those blooper tapes are just something to behold. They're so good.
Real quick, you mentioned a second ago, and this is something that I've always liked about y'all, but y'all are an instrumental band. Was there ever a thought of using a vocalist or lyrics at all, or was it pretty much always like we want to just make instrumentals?
I think we all have kind of toyed around with that idea, and this is getting these features with rappers is kind of like our way of testing the waters, because we don't want to just only have hip hop features forever. It's just what we're into, what we kind of came from. So that's kind of what the foot we let off with was what we knew best, and hopefully in the future we'll get some more melodic vocal features, or someone that's just going to feature like just their voice. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Not as a rap tool.
Yeah. What I like about the songs that y'all have made with rappers though is that it would be really easy for y'all to make like a 16-bar loop and then basically just like have that be a beat that someone raps over. But instead, it's like it's two halves of a song, because it like your other music, it goes through, it's not just a loop. I mean, it definitely has like, it transforms, it has phases. Like the first half has like the vocalist. Like I liked the recent one, Za, because the first half is the vocalist, and the second half, they're still vocals, but they're like, it's basically like a chopped and screwed vocals.
I'm from Houston, Texas, so I mean, I have to.
That's right. Yeah,
I have to basically chop and screw everything, and then people have to be like, "No, we can't do it every time." Okay, all right. This time we won't.
Dude, there's some songs that I would never have expected. Over the years, I've like listened to some producers who have chopped and screwed songs that I would never have thought to chop and screw. Like Mike G from Odd Future has a really great series where he would chop and screw Amy Winehouse. Or like Christina Milian and stuff where you're like, this is not a song I would expect for someone to do this to.
But it's beautiful because usually those are such upbeat things that when you slow them down, it's a whole new groove. And like, I really am into that type of music. Yeah.
Oh yeah, me too. I do think it can be there. I've also listened to Chopped and Screwed where I was like, this is too much, because
of course, yeah.
I think really all it comes down to is I love anything screwed is great. Chopping's too much. Yeah. Because sometimes they're just like, oh man, you repeated that beat 5 times in a row.
And the fifth one is phased.
Yeah.
But it's still just this harsh chop. And you're like, that's not even a good bar, man.
But yeah, I mean, I have so many memories of just like downloading MP3s off YouTube of like different songs that were chopped and screwed.
It gives it a whole new life.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love that. But moving on, well, first off, we didn't even really do this, but we can, go ahead and do this. I like to bookend this at the beginning and end. Promote, anything go ahead and say like what your Instagram or the band Instagram or anything like that. If you want people to follow you, I mean,
at Crispin Wah Music, @CrispinWah Music. That's our Instagram. That's Twitter. That's Facebook. That's pretty much all of them. Crispin Wah on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you really listen to music.
Just out of curiosity, because my next question is going to be about the origin of the name, but which I already know a little bit about, but I want you to say it on the podcast. But before we get into the origin of the name, have you ever seen anything online where another band is using that name?
No, not with music. There's been like a meme page that's stolen our thing and like stole our logo. And but it's like, it's like they got 400 followers. They haven't posted since 2018. It's like, who cares? But
yeah.
No, that's the beauty of this band name is like we were really adamant about like not really having any other thing get in the way of this brand. Mm-hmm. So I think we did a good job.
The reason first off, like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, y'all are my favorite Atlanta band. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I think mainly because I love psychedelic music. y'all definitely land in that genre. That's like the main thing I tell people is like, well, it's like if you like psychedelic music, you might like them. But it's a brand of psychedelic, you know, and we'll get into that. But the reason I like y'all so much is that there's such a history with the name and with, I mean, just in general, the fact that y'all are, I mean, except maybe not. Most of y'all are from Atlanta or from the Atlanta area, or you know,
From the South.
From the South, yeah. And so you can, I guess, like I like that there is a story behind it, that there is kind of a mysticism. You know, like there's the people who are scared of it. Even like some people may even see y'all's name and go, I never want to listen to that music. You know, because but. Give me an idea, who first came up with the name and how did y'all kind of decide on it? Were there other options that you thought of?
We had all met like a few hours before. We had never even met Sinem, the other guitarist. By the way, there's Monochrome Sweatsuit, King Fractal, me, Bruther Brown, Sinem Palmer. He's the other guitarist. I think I met him like 3 hours before, and I was like, okay, hop in, go into the cabin, let's go record some music. This was like fresh off of A3C, which is a music festival in Atlanta for predominantly hip hop. That's why I say that's where we came from. It's pretty much where we all met. Was
nice.
In the studios working and stuff. But so when we got to said cabin that we rented just to go, you know, have fun, chill, make some music together, see what we could make, because we brought all of our gear, which I don't know how conventional that is, but I've heard there is an old cabin in the wood routine, so I'm sure some bands maybe did that prior to us, but hey, first one I ever heard do it. So we just packed up all our gear and went and did it. In the cabin, there was yearbooks, photo albums, just really personal things. And there was a PlayStation and there was WCW Nitro. So we started playing that. And then I as a kid, I grew up watching wrestling and I loved Crispin Wah. I think he's still one of the fundamental best to ever do it. And I just kind of said it. And I just love puns as well. Like, so I just kind of playing with Crispin Wah, seeing the name and then seeing how else I could spell it in my head. And I just kind of came up with it. And there was foolproof. No one could poke a hole in it. And they were like, yeah, it's really good, actually. I like that. So we just kind of decided right there.
That's awesome.
So the band name pretty much came first. And then we started making music in the cabin. It was cool.
And honestly, a lot of times, I've said this before on the podcast, I'm really judgmental of band names. And I've definitely met people who named their band before they ever made any music, and the music wasn't very good. So, I mean, sometimes that can backfire on you because you're focused on the wrong things. But that's awesome, though, that, you know, so something I'll, you know, maybe put in there then is that I've always heard a bit of a classic video game music influence in Crispin Wah's music. And I'm assuming...
Oh, we all played them.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm assuming that's not like something I'm just hearing. That's definitely there. That, I mean, like I know that Sinem is, like I've seen plenty of videos of him, you know, like shredding some Mega Man soundtrack or something. So, I mean, like
the OST god, man. He can just play any soundtrack from any game that you love. He knows it. He knows how to play it.
That's awesome.
Highly commendable.
Yeah. But yeah, to kind of tell you, actually, you didn't really answer my question. How
the name came up, yeah.
Well, no. I guess, my bad. A previous question. We're going to go back for a second. Whenever you're, aside from...
Oh, the genre thing.
How do you describe...
Yeah. I kind of went where you went. Like, I kind of lead with psychedelic. And then if that's like a turn off, and I'm like, but no way. There's like hip-hop elements and jazz stuff. And they're like, really? All that? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not bullshitting. I'm like, just listen to it. Like, it's there. The proof's in the pudding. We have the legacy, the evidence. That's kind of the one thing that our guitarist harps on too, Monochrome Sweatsuit. He thinks we'd be a band that benefited from having a giant catalog, and I totally agree with him. Yeah. I think just having the music out, like in a lot of it, not in the way of, you know, other signed bands, we just don't have that capacity, but like as much as we can be putting out, I think that's the most important thing to do, at least right now, because shows aren't a definite thing yet. Hopefully this year we get it back. It's up to you guys.
Yeah. I like the difference. So like, full disclosure, I haven't seen y'all live since you released, and this is like a while, but I mean, you know, we've had a pandemic and all that. So I haven't seen y'all live since you released Crispin Wah Type Beat. But I mean, y'all played at least a couple shows since that came out, right?
I thought you came to the Wednesday Night Titan show.
No, I wasn't there. No, but
that's where we debuted the stuff off of Type Beat 1 and then a couple things off of the newest thing.
I was gonna ask, how did because Lemon Pepper, y'all's first album, was pretty much all like acoustic drums and maybe some beats, but mostly like,
mostly acoustic drums.
Yeah. And then Crispin Wah Type Beat was all electronic, right? Or I mean, all sampled drums.
That was when we were getting in the swing of being able to work remotely and passing stuff around.
How did the transition go though to playing that stuff live? Like, do you think that it translated well, like to playing with a drum set, or did you have like samples that also played?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Fractal will have, the laptop set up and all the stuff that's just like, there's no way we can ever recreate this live or at least get it to that point. 'Cause a lot of these things are like, it's one loop and then there's double time and then he'll add something and then that's then reversed. And then he'll add something else and then that's double time. So like, there's really no way to backtrack and get every single thing that you did on that loop. So some of those things we'll have to fire off and I think it went really well, especially with the blend, like you said, of the light, like say I just kept the snare or just like the really cool hi-hat pattern on top of Fractal playing that drum. It's big. It sounds really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think that's like a definite benefit of y'all kind of fine-tuning the set and then like programming it and then syncing it up with the visuals. It makes it where you can perfect everything. I mean,
it's tough for us though, because it's not like a pick up and play a show on a moment's notice. Like it takes a while to get this down and rehearsed. And it's much more of a theatrical performance, not in the way of like drama, but like it's much more of a show. Yeah.
It has a lot of elements, a lot of spectacle, things like that. But I really appreciate like again, I wouldn't put y'all in my category of favorite bands in general if you didn't have that live show and that kind of element, because it's not, and it's not like I, am a snob for bands that don't have any kind of like visual element, but it just makes it that much better. And I know that there's bands that thrive on the recording process and not really, but I mean, you can make music videos, which that's a good transition. I first, really found y'all watching your Blood Feast performance. However, the Splat music video like really caught my attention.
Yeah.
Because I'm a videographer. When I first saw it, it was like 2018 or 2019, and I was interested in making music videos for bands in Atlanta. So that one really caught my attention.
Yeah, we set the bar pretty high with that one.
Yeah.
That one was really good.
That was like the first thing y'all really, was Lemon Pepper out by that time, or was that?
I think it was out. Yeah.
Okay.
It was out for like at least a few months, and then we put that out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I love that music video. It's very creative. I mean, like even that music video has elements that tie y'all to Atlanta with the wings.
The wings, man.
I mean, and I think that's why I love it so much, is that when you watch that video, you go, this is a silly concept, really, because they're eating wings that are making them trip, but it's
quintessentially Atlanta. I mean,
yeah, and it's
for those of you who don't know, you can walk around Atlanta and you could probably count at least 10 chicken wings within a mile span of just walking around the city. On the curb, someone has left them at a bus stop. Like, there's all kinds of scenarios. There's actually an Instagram page.
Yes.
Wings of ATL. Shout out them. They don't endorse me or anything, but it's really funny. It's comical.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. I mean, like I've photographed a few over the years, and I mean, they're everywhere. However, I have to point out, because I love Atlanta, and there's more in Atlanta than anywhere. But I've seen that shit in Alabama too. So I mean, my point being, anywhere that it's like rural, or I mean, Atlanta's a big city, so that's why it's funny that it happens here a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Because to me, I'm like, I associate it with like.
You think there's one more class here?
Yeah, or I mean, I like, because to me, like I'm used to seeing that, like I said, in rural Alabama, where I'm like, okay, this makes sense. That someone would just, because they're used to throwing everything on the side of the road, like
That's
apples
true.
and But yeah, the Splat music video really caught my attention. It's very cinematic. It also has like a really good. I think the scenes where the characters are experiencing some kind of psychedelic hallucinations, they're very believable. If that makes sense. I mean, it's not kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? It's not contrived. It's not like what you know, my mom or something would think of like that kind of scene. It's
you can definitely tell it's all of our minds that made that kind of conceived that treatment for the video, which I mean, it was kind of chaotic with that many people giving their input, but I think the end result was like as good as it could be because everyone got to have their little 2 cents and what they think should happen in the video, and it all pretty much made it. So,
and then transitioning kind of into I actually shot a music video, y'all's, I guess, most recent music video, right? Dojo Exotic, which is still on, you know, obviously it's still on YouTube on the Crispin Wah page. So I'll, you know, put a link in the description.
I think we're shadow banned. I don't know if it's fractal. I don't know what it is about that video.
You know what? I'm happy it got more views than I kind of expected it to more recently, because I was like, man, this is going to stay pretty low. And then it got a few hundred more. So, you know, but in general, I mean, like, I'm just happy I'm happy anytime a video gets like 500 plus views. I'm like, that's great, because that at least shows me that someone's paying attention, you know?
The best part is it'll never go down.
Yeah.
It's only going to go up. It's only going to go up. But yeah, that video is sick, man. We get a lot of good feedback from that. It's kind of shot in a similar way with the slow-mo and just really high attention to just the shot itself. You know what I mean? Like, I was
going to say that, like, whenever we were making that, I was going for that. I really wanted, because when I listen to y'all's music, and this is something that, you know, I kind of want to get into with you, psychedelic music, that I think back in the 60s was just associated a couple different ways, and now it's kind of, it's such a vast, you know, universe.
It means a different thing now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it means a different thing to everybody, you know, because if I said, oh, well, this music's psychedelic, you know, in the 60s, it either meant like it was kind of jangly and poppy psychedelic, or it was kind of very weird, long experimental songs and they got dark and mysterious. Y'all do a good job, I think, of like kind of floating somewhere in between all of that. But I would say there's an unmistakable sinister element. Can you kind of elaborate on that? Like, why necessarily, like, because when I listen to y'all's music, I don't think I've ever listened to one song where the entire way through I was like, this is a happy song, you know? And it's not that they're sad songs, it's that they make you feel a little bit creeped out or something, you know?
That's called, it's called playing in modes. So like there's major and there's minor, and there's a bunch of different modes that go with each of those major and minor keys, which is just the displacement of 1 or 2 notes. But that makes all the difference in color and the way you can use the harmony. And I wasn't really hip to all that. I was pretty much just versed in major and minor. But then like Chrome kind of put me on all this different theory that you could add color to all this music and all this harmony. And the sinister thing, he kind of tends to lean towards one of those modes that is very sinister. It's called harmonic minor. It's got that, you know, it's just very, very evil sounding. And I just think he gravitates towards that, and I don't mind it either. I think a lot of it's pretty cool to have it like tucked in, like, you know, have a few happy songs, but then really hit them with something dark, and it's like it's a much more engulfing experience, like, for the listener.
One of my favorite songs on Crispin Wah type beat is, I can never get it right, so let me try to get it right. Tai Chi Chai Tea. Yep. Type beat. Anyway, but that one is awesome. And it has exactly what I'm talking about, where it has like I would say it's not necessarily like creepy or sinister at first. It's more almost like mysterious, but it has like a good groove to it and everything. But then it transitions into, it's like something familiar, but it's getting, and I would say
it's familiar, but you can't reach it.
Yeah, and it's familiar, but it's creepy familiar. You know, it's kind of like, oh, are things turning? And I don't know. I would say that's probably one of the things I really appreciate about y'all's music, because most of the psychedelic music I listen to is a little bit more traditional. Kind of has like a more happy, cheery vibe to it. Like I really like, I don't know if you listen to the band Triptides. They're one of my favorite psychedelic bands. And they're not all like cheery, but like they've kind of gravitated a lot towards music that kind of sounds like the Byrds almost, like, you know,
jangly, like you're like
yeah. So I mean, do you like, you've got a pretty vast vinyl collection. Like, do you what's your favorite like era of psychedelic music, or is there like an artist that you kind of gravitate towards?
Let me think. Yeah, I mean, I did the whole Velvet Underground thing. I did, like you were saying, the Birds. I don't know, is that psych? I guess that's psychedelia or something, but psych rock was really what more kind of...
The Birds have some music that, like, they have one song called Mind Gardens that is very, like, they're playing around with a lot of effects and stuff. Like,
okay, cool.
So the Birds got more psychedelic.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, Velvet Underground, like, I don't really know what to call, I guess the Stooges. But that's, I don't know, is that punk to you? It was psych rock to me. And then like Jefferson Airplane, I really liked them as a kid. So that kind of shaped my taste. Really, skateboarding videos had these soundtracks where like I would have never heard that music otherwise.
Yeah.
So that had a lot of psych rock on it. It's just like, I'm not familiar with their catalog, so I'm not going to just rattle off that band as if it was awesome. But skateboard videos really was like introduced me to a lot of different kinds of music that I still listen to today.
You know, most times skate videos, maybe this is just me. In full disclosure, my main knowledge of skating at all literally just comes from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. So I mean, like,
so you know who Primus is?
yeah, exactly. But I know Primus and Goldfinger, and you know, dude, I love those soundtracks. But I was gonna say, skate videos in my mind, I always go to punk, ska, and maybe some metal, but not a lot of. It's weird because like psychedelic music specifically is usually kind of associated with like, I guess, stoners. It's like more like drug culture and things like that. And not quite as much, which I mean, those are in the skater community, but I don't know. Do you have like specific examples of, you think of like psychedelic music being in skate videos?
There's a company called Foundation Skateboard. That's how I found out about Modest Mouse, Shocking Blue, which is another like kind of deep cut psych rock. I don't even know if you're gonna know what that is, but
no,
I mean it's really, really good. Susie and the Banshee, shit like that, like just really deep stuff, like stuff you really, like I said, wouldn't normally find. And yeah, so Foundation videos. Most of those Transworld videos have good soundtracks. Pretty much pick any of those, and you're gonna find something you like out of there. Baker, all day Baker videos. Great music on there too.
Do you have any, speaking of your vinyl collection, do you have any vinyls that you're particularly proud of? Like something that, I don't know, I mean, like, I don't know a lot about first pressings and things like that, but...
I have Young Dro's Best Thing Smoking on vinyl.
Nice.
Which is like, I'm so proud to have that. That's kind of like the Lemon Pepper video. Like, it's just so quintessentially Atlanta, and like, I felt like I've never seen anyone else have that. I have T.I. King.
Dude, King is a great album.
I mean, but it's probably it's not like super scarce to have that. That Young Dro one though is like, what? You have this on vinyl?
That's awesome.
Like, yeah, buddy. Rick Ross, Port of Miami. Love that one. Love having that one.
The only one I know off that is Hustlin' or Everyday, you know.
That's the album I had, Port of Miami.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying is that's the only song I know off that album.
I got you.
But when that song first came out, it was huge.
I'm lucky enough to have absolved, because my dad moved and he was just like, I'm tired of keeping these around. So I'd say like 70% of the collection that I have that you've seen is his. So I'm sure there's just some bangers in there that I just kind of overlooked, and I'm going to be grateful to have it one day.
That's how it is with my collection. I mean, I gave a lot of them, you know, back to my parents, but I still have like some Steely Dan and some, I'm trying to think. I mean, they had a lot. My mom's favorite band is Chicago, and my dad's favorite.
Chicago's a great band.
Chicago, you know, and the weird thing about Chicago is that, like, anytime, if I had to describe Chicago, they are the white Earth, Wind, and Fire. I think some people only think of like Saturday in the Park and then like the 80s hits that they had, you know, like more poppy stuff. But Chicago has some songs that are like...
They got some heavy tunes.
They've got some heavy tunes. They've got some jazzy as fuck tunes that just straight up like a... I don't know. They're a really interesting band. I mean, like I said, they are white Earth, Wind, and Fire. Those two bands to me are basically the same thing. They just, one is more groovy and funky, and then one is more like you're listening to a jazz band from like a really good university or something.
Yeah. They do 250624. Yeah, that's a great fucking song, man.
I will say their first album, which I have on vinyl, that's probably their best one of all time. But like Chicago had a ridiculous amount of albums. I mean, they ended up having like
catalog's huge.
It's like Chicago 12.
Yeah.
You know, they
I liked the continuity in the album covers too. How it was like it was,
the same logo.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. It was classy.
Yeah, I like that too. So something I've noticed recently that you and Chrome have been doing a lot of is mean, because I don't think I've seen necessarily the other members of Crispin Wah featured on there, but y'all are doing Twitch, right?
We are.
Tell me about it. Like, tell me how it's going so far. I mean, where people can find you and all that. I'll put a lower third so they can,
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's pretty much just being a product of the times and our environment. Like I said, it takes so much out of us to get ready for shows and stuff that we can't even have that doubt that it's going to get canceled. So we hadn't really been taking anything. So we just tried to adapt to a more digital space, and it's called Curio Lab, CURIO Lab. And it's ran by Frances Sassport. She used to work at, a couple of production places around here, so she knows what the hell she's doing. And she has all the equipment and big green screens, and she does crazy effects, and it looks really, really pro. And I think that's pretty important to come out of the gate looking like you know what you're doing. Cinnem's actually doing his stream as well, playing OSTs.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
We're trying to get Fractal doing it too. So hopefully this year, everyone in the band will have some sort of stream outlet.
That's awesome.
So check us out on there, twitch.tv/CurioLab. And then I guess I'll give you theirs to put in there as well. So
yeah. Just send me whatever links you want. I'll put it in the description.
So yeah, Curio Lab's pretty much Francis and Monochrome Sweatsuit. And then I, kind of help run camera on shows. I'll do ideas for angles. I'll provide edits. I'll do visuals sometimes. But yeah, it's pretty much ran by Francis and Monochrome. And I kind of just I had the idea to just maybe have a GoPro at my house and just put up YouTube clips. And he was like, no. You should have your own Twitch stream.
That's awesome.
What am I going to do though? And he's like, the same thing you're going to do at your house, just making beats. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm pretty much just showing everyone what I normally do at my house. It's just on a green screen, and I can interact with chat, and we're doing you can submit samples in Discord, and I'll chop them up the next week. It's a cool community. I felt like a really old person at first, because they were like, so they're going to cheer with bits and emotes and what that does. And I'm like, wait, what are you saying? And they have to subscribe. What does that mean? And they're like, yeah, it's real money. And I'm like, you can get real money off of this? They're like, yeah, dude, monthly payments. I'm like, let's go. Let's do it. So yeah, we're all trying our best to just adapt, because that's kind of where we see everything now. If just in case it shuts down again, we want to have something that people can see us on, because it's pretty much adapt or die at this point. You got to have content for people.
So your segment is called Brother Brown's Baked Beats.
Brother Brown's Baked Beats. Alliteration on fire. That's 4.
Nice. Is that supposed to be any kind of a pun on baked beans?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, okay. That's what I figured. I just want to make sure. But
have you seen the logo with the oven mitt?
I think I have.
Oh, yeah. So good. Shout out Mumblesaurus. He also did the Splat video. So
yeah, awesome.
Long time collaborator. Shout out to that guy.
What was I going to ask you about it? So I haven't tuned in the stream yet. On Brother Brown's Baked Beats, are you more like building beats? As in
from scratch, and I do 3 or 4 every single time as we go. Really to get the squeeze out of Twitch, you have to kind of stream for a little bit longer than what you'd think. You'd think an hour to get it done. No, you got to give people a chance to tune in. And just catch you at a point, because that's really the name of the game, is just to get more eyes on it. The more eyes on it, the more ads, the more money. So that's how it works. So, but yeah, it's just me making beats from scratch. I usually only use bass, but I still have my MIDI keyboard set up, and either I'll start with a loop on bass and sample it, run it through Ableton, or like I said, I'll go in Discord and people will provide me with stuff they've made, and they're like, I want to hear him chop this up.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
I didn't know that.
It's really interactive and cool. And I was, once I saw that was a possibility and that was capable, I was like, yeah, this is for me.
That's awesome.
So yeah, just building beats online. A lot of people will grab it and make an animation from it. So it's just cool to see.
Yeah. So how did you actually get started playing music? What back in the day made you have this fire in you that wanted to make music?
My dad played in cover bands my whole life. Well, before I was born, obviously, but his whole life he played in cover bands, just touring across. So he always had instruments at the house. I always had access to instruments, and they weren't shitty. It was 74 Fender P-Bass, Sunburst, Fire Yamaha acoustic guitar, Casio keyboard. It was all at my disposal. So once you're a bored kid with no phone, by the way, and you have a babysitter there, and you're just like, I might as well play this. So I had access to vinyl and music instruments since I was 4 or 5 years old. So it kind of just happened. And then I think maybe I just got the gene from him to have the inclination of having at least a good enough ear to be interested in it. And then played in orchestra in middle school and high school, even in college a little bit. I went to music school for a little while. But then I was like, what am I going to do? Play in a Philharmonic or something? Wear a cummerbund? Like, I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah. Dude, I totally
that
get
was
it.
my degree of music performance, and that was pretty much it. Was just playing Tchaikovsky and classical shit. So
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, I'd rather see if I can do it on my own. So that's where I went.
I had a friend that he was on our first episode of this podcast, Jojo. Shout out Jojo. But basically, Jojo originally was a music performance major when we were in college together, and he had an issue with the fact that his professor, who was like, he was doing guitar. It was like classical guitar performance, and his professor did not know how to like write music. When I say did not know how to write music, I mean
like sheet music,
as in like,
or compose music.
He did not, like, if he tried, he could probably do it formulaically, but he had no interest in like writing music. Did not know how to like improvise or solo at all, and basically was like, he was perfect at playing what was on the page, but could not really create music on the fly.
I see. Yeah.
And so that made him go, well, that's what I want to do though. I don't want to just play what's on the page, you know? And so that made him, just kind of like not really want to do that. So it discourages a lot of people. And I was going to ask you, I know that you are pretty adept at making beats electronically, but do you play drums? If you play all the other instruments, I was wondering.
Yeah, I can play drums pretty well.
Nice.
I'd say that's next in line. It's like bass, drums, and then I guess guitar and keys are tied because I'm not like awesome at either guitar or keys.
I know what you mean.
But I can play them, like if pretty much like your buddy, like tell me what to play and I got the rhythm. I can memorize it. But yeah, writing on guitar and keys is pretty tough for me. I prefer to just demo everything out on my bass and then even maybe alter some of those demo sounds into final sounds to where it doesn't even sound like bass anymore. That's my favorite.
I was going to say that's actually something I've noticed with Crispin Wah. There's times where, like, I think Splat may even be like this, where oftentimes you listen to it and you go, well, there's a lot of what sounds like almost like a keyboard synth bass. Is that just like all you playing bass and it's just pedals? Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting.
Or, some wicked plugin that I have access to on the DAW. But yeah, I prefer to do anything really, really tonally specific. I prefer to try to nail it with the pedals at first. And then if that doesn't work, I'll go to the plugin and make it sound how I want to sound. But I've really been getting into a lot of plugins recently, so that might change. Mm-hmm. I might just get a little Helix stomp and then everything else I'll do on the computer post, because it's just making 3 hours of beats every week on Twitch is like, I'm stacking them, dude, and they're all just getting, like, I'm finding new little tricks and tips, so, like, everyone's kind of learning on there with me, so it's just, I'm just getting better and better.
You'll have your exercise up. That, because I know you also do, I've never been to a Controllerize or anything like that, but are you building beats at Controllerize, or is it mainly playing the beat that you've already kind of built?
That's more like you sign up for 5 minutes to debut your stuff.
Gotcha, okay,
or to, showcase your stuff, I should say. But a lot of people do debut their stuff. That's kind of how I use it. I test it on that crowd.
Yeah.
When I make something new, I go there, see how people react to it. If it's a dud, I'm just like, all right, well, back to square one. Let's try something new. Yeah.
Gotcha. So one thing I've kind of wondered is, because from what I understand, none of y'all necessarily grew up together or anything. How did everyone in Crispin Wah meet and end up collaborating?
Let's see. I've known Fractal the longest because I lived in Columbus, Georgia, in between Houston and here, and that's where we met initially. So I've always kind of been friends with him, but we didn't really play music together. We didn't really link in that way. I don't know why, but not till later in life. But I started working with DJ Burn One and the 5 Points Bakery, which is a music collective that does production. It's like a production house, and Corey Moe and all them. Shouts out to them. Worked with them. Fractal just kept asking me, like, man, when can I come up? When can I come up? When can I come up? The drummer ended up falling out, so I was like, all right, bud, here's your chance. Here's your shot. Come on up. And then they all hit it off. So we were kind of a clique for a while. I'd say like 6-8 months, maybe even a year. It's a blur, but one day, man, Chrome was getting a Aphex Twin tattoo in the studio because it was multi-use. It was a production house, so there was lots of things being done out of the place. Tattooing, beats, 2 rooms of beats. So yeah, he comes downstairs just with this wicked Aphex Twin tattoo, no shirt on. And he's like, "You guys are playing music?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Do you play music?" And he's like, has his guitar on him. I'm like, this guy plugs up, fire, like making like crazy loops just like that. So then we all started playing together with that collective, and then we played that A3C show, and that's when we decided, like, we're going to get this cabin. And Chrome's like, I know a guy. And we're like, huh, okay. Who is it? And he's like, it's my buddy Sinham from South Carolina. I used to teach guitar to him. And we're like, okay, bring him on down. So like I said, he probably came down, and we had about 3 hours of hanging out before we just decided to leave to the cabin. And then Clint Lloyd in the beginning helped out, and he's also a buddy of Fractal's from Columbus. But we don't have a keyboard player anymore because he had to move to Texas for, personal reasons.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, it was cool. It was cool how we all just kind of ended up in the same room.
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, it's not that there's anything wrong with meeting bandmates on like Craigslist, but I'm happy. Well, I mean, just because, I mean, dude,
that's weird. I've never even heard of that. Bands get formed this way? I'm sure.
Yes. No, I mean, like I had someone on my podcast who met people that way, and they're still playing shows, and I mean, so
I got trust issues. I guess I would never.
I totally get it. You know, it's funny because like I've been on Craigslist before when and like seen like things, or even Reddit, people have posted things like this, and the main thing that people usually say is they'll be like, no one over 30 or no one over 40 or something, because it's like 20-something-year-old kids that don't really know anybody, and then you can tell they've been burned in the past where they've been like, yeah, we're looking for a guitar player, and then maybe they have like a 50-year-old dude show up who like knows what he's doing, but they're like, this guy doesn't fit in with us, because it's like, we're not going to get people our age to come to the show if, no offense to...
Listen, Larry, your brand just doesn't really match ours.
Exactly. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, I guess my point is, it's nice to hear that it's not just like a story of just like, we met through Craigslist, or we met,
Oh, I know. It's like when people tell you how they, like, I don't even ask couples how they met anymore, because 9 times out of 10, it's like, oh, we met on Tinder. It's like, oh, y'all got to make something up or something. That's so weak. We can't do this.
It's really funny because my wife and I met on Tinder, and we do make.
That's why I said 9 times.
Depending on the circumstance, we do make up a thing. Like,
I love that.
Well,
yeah.
because like if we're talking to certain people, we'll go, we knew people that knew each other, and then other times...
Just tighten it up a little bit.
And then if it's someone who's like,
go with the mutual.
If it's someone really young, we're just like Tinder, and they're like, oh, cool, But yeah, it's kind of crazy. I think I've seen ads before where Tinder actually was even like, we met on... And I'm like, I would never be in one of these ads. Yeah.
That's funny, man. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. But yeah, I love a good origin story. And I think that y'all, like I said at the beginning... I like the name. I like pretty much everything that, like, from even naming your album Lemon Pepper, there's just so much that ties y'all to Atlanta and ties y'all, I don't know. I mean, it just kind of, it's like a fun, I don't even know how to put it exactly.
It's fun, but like...
It's almost like an inside joke. Or not an inside joke, it's an inside, like if I just told someone... from New York that y'all are called Crispin Wah, they might just, unless they were a wrestling fan, they might just be like, what?
Yeah,
but then,
well, that's kind of what we want.
Yeah.
Unless you're a fan of wrestling, like, it's just kind of a cool name.
People probably...
And we don't use any wild pedals, which is great.
Actually, that's great.
It's pretty good intent, in my opinion.
I don't even know what I thought when I first heard y'all's name. I think I probably was just like, oh, it's just... That's another band.
That Crispin Cider had just come out back when we got the cabin. I think it was like 2015. Maybe it hadn't just come out. That was the first time I saw it. So I think that was just... Like, that label was just in my brain for some reason, and that's what I referred to for like the how to spell it for the pun to work. But yeah, I mean, it's fun, but we do take it seriously, and I think that's kind of why we've at least climbed some of the milestones that we've gotten this far, because everyone moved here for the band, because Chrome was living in Denver, Sinham was still in Charleston, South Carolina. Right. I was the only one that was actually a resident of Atlanta. I've been here since 2010, so nice. I feel like a solid decade under the belt, I can call myself an ATL at this point. So.
Oh, yeah. I think you've earned your stripes.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to, go into too much detail, because obviously you want to keep some things a secret, but can you tell us what's next for Crispin Wah? Or, even things to look forward to?
Of course. We have, hopefully, another video coming out, which is going to be a track from It's pretty much going to be Crispin Wah type beat too, but we don't want to call it that, so we called it Bleacher Creature.
Nice.
That's going to come out later this year, probably like April or May, something like that.
Cool.
We have a single coming out we went back to the NPA camp, which is where we nabbed Lowlife Black for a feature prior to this more recent Jelly feature. We went back to that camp, found this kid, NPA Sowop, who's got some bars. So
is that Peewee Longway? Is that his? Okay,
yeah.
That's his like collective.
Yep.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, man.
I love Peewee Longway.
Me too. He's like Gucci Mane for people who miss the old Gucci Mane. You know what I mean? Like, because Gucci kind of, he's a dad now.
He is athletic. Gucci is not the same at all.
Exactly.
No.
So for people who miss that, look to Peewee Longway. He is your new Gucci savior.
My favorite Peewee Longway verse is on a song with Young Thug from like 2013 or 14 called Loaded. It's a music video where they are shirtless, just in this like sea of just like other shirtless dudes, and basically at like a house party. And it's just so funny because like
it's like borderline fratty, but it's
but then
way more gangster.
But they all have like AKs, and pointing at the camera and shit. But like Peewee Longway, even just the name, I'm just like, but it's so fitting because he's short as hell. And like
it's like a little monster, dude.
Yeah,
like, he does look awesome with his shirt off too. It's like, is this a kid?
You're like
wait, no.
That is the definition of a muffin top right there.
Yeah. Love that guy. He probably is so magnetic to be around though. Like he's just always so damn happy.
Yeah. But yeah, like, man, there have been some, real quick, there have been some songs over the years. There was a song on one of Young Thug's, like maybe Slime Season 2 or 3 or something, that I think it was the song Quarterback that has it has like
ninth grade quarterback.
Yeah,
Wesley Hot ninth grade.
It has like Quavo, Peewee Longway, and then maybe like has someone else from Atlanta. But anytime I hear one of those songs where where I look at it and I go, oh shit, this has Migos and Young Thug and Peewee Longway, and it'll be like and Future, and it's like it'll be like everyone from Atlanta that you love, and I don't know.
It was a great era, man, where they were all like just about to pop, but they were still able to be like, like, oh, we'll all get in the studio. That won't be a problem. Now it's like that could never happen.
No, because it would be
security and entourage. There'd be like 500 people there.
You know what? I got to bring this up though, since we're talking about that whole crew. You know what? One person I can think of that ran with all of them, but basically like I don't know what he's doing these days, is Rich Homie Quan. Rich Homie Quan was like best friends with Young Thug, and like, and he was like,
I think he got a bad deal, and like he's kind of just screwed, and then it's like, what's the point of making music?
Well, my opinion is that he should never have called himself Rich Homie Quan, because all you're doing is you're jinxing yourself to where you're gonna end up being poor. Like if you're gonna be put Rich in your name, I mean, in my opinion, that's just. Get your name like Young Thug, and you can always be a Young Thug, even though. One thing I love about Young Thug, when he was like 23, he said in some interview that he was like, man, I don't think anybody should be rapping past 30. It's a young man's game. And then he's like 30 now. He's like about to be, because he's only a couple years older than me. So.
Well, I don't even think you believe yourself when you're that young.
No.
Like, you look back and you're like, God, what was I talking about?
Exactly.
20-something years old, you have no idea.
I don't hold it against him, but it's just funny, because I'm like, I doubt that you want to stop, you probably want to keep going.
Yeah, just what, cut the money factor off? Yeah, right. You're going to keep making music till it's not going to work anymore.
But anyway, so we have, another album coming out from y'all then that is something to look forward to.
Single. Oh, I didn't even mention Dirge Electronics. Crazy pedal builder. It was just recently featured on Vice.
Mm-hmm.
Huge, crazy good legendary pedal builder. Hooked us up with the Slowly Melting, and we made a couple tracks with it. And we're going to use like some artwork maybe and put that out through Bandcamp. Maybe have some proceeds go to the foundation that he's a part of. And so that's another single to look forward to as well.
That's awesome.
Really, really heavy distortion pedal. That's what the Slowly Melting does. It's like this really, really raunchy. It's not pleasing to the ears, but I'll mix it to where it's not going to hurt. But expect some really gnarly stuff too, like maybe a two-sided EP or something for that pedal release.
I have one more question for you, and then I'll ask you to plug stuff. But because me and you share we're both fans of King Gizzard. We both love King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard, and I know. You originally were going to try to go to the shows in Colorado, but they've been rescheduled a million times, so we'll see.
I'm still holding those tickets.
Yeah, I mean you should. But what is your favorite King Gizzard album? I know that they have such a repertoire, but like because I'll tell you what mine is. Mine is Sketches of Brunswick East.
That's top 3.
I love that album.
I'd say Nonagon, Sketches, Rat's Nest.
Okay.
Those are the ones I revisit all the time, but like all of them, like the microtonal one, I always revisit to listen to parts of that because it's just so original. There's no way to hear psych rock done on microtonal instruments that's not Middle Eastern. Like with American vocals, that's just like really rare. So that's just a cool thing. But you know, on Sketches, they kind of introduced those instruments a little bit too. Like it's kind of scattered, but Mild High Club too.
Yeah.
Great band. I'm also a huge fan of them. So yeah, Nonagon, Sketches, Rat's Nest are my top 3.
I'm trying to
If I had to
remember.
pick one, Rat's Nest.
I'm trying to remember. Is it Rat's Nest or Murder of the Universe that has like Planet B and?
That's Rat's Nest.
That's Rat's Nest.
You know what's hilarious is that I hated Infest the Rat's Nest when it first came out. I was like, what is this heavy garbage? Like,
Dude, I was kind of the same way. I was like, what are they doing? Like Metallica or something? But now I'm just like, man.
I love it now, and it's because I kind of got a weird like metal vibe in my bones this year where I was like, I want to listen to more heavy stuff. But it's not, it's such a good psychedelic heavy.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe
if
it.
you see any YouTube performances of that, or if you get a chance to see them live, that stuff off that material they play live is chaotic. I mean, the energy is crazy when they play that stuff. So it's like, it's a win-win. It's like the album's good, and when you go see it live, that's some of the more like high energy moments of the set. So that's why I really appreciate that album. But like you said, the catalog's so thick that like it's so hard to choose. It's like Radiohead. It's like, you make me pick one?
But I think even more than Radiohead though, the reason I love King Gizzard so much is because I can literally point to what is the acoustic album with synths on it and
Paper Mache Dream.
yeah, like that one's like an all acoustic album, and then you listen to, and then they have like metal albums. They have like ridiculously psychedelic albums. And then they have like, it's funny because back when they only had like Nonagon and the ones before that, one of my friends was like, he was kind of joking and he was like, King Gizzard to me, almost all their music sounds like the Power Rangers theme song.
Like, cause it's great.
Yeah, it is. And they have the harmonious guitars. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
Polygon to Wannaland also. I revisit that one.
That one's great. Yeah.
Really, really mathy. I mean, you got to be in a certain mood for it, but they're still like really good cuts. They're just a great band, man. I don't care what anybody says. They're a great band.
I can't remember the name. There's one song on Polygon that like kills me, and that's the one I love. They released that one completely for free, and I think they even said,
well, they released the stem so that you could bootleg it. You could make your own vinyl of it with a different cover or your own cassette tape.
Which is so fucking cool.
They were putting them on SNES cartridges. Like you could play them off a video game cartridge. They were doing all kinds of stuff with that.
That's awesome.
And super innovative, never been done before. They're constantly pushing the envelope.
If I had to move to any foreign, if I had to move to any foreign country, I've thought about Australia just because I'm like, do you listen to Babe Rainbow?
Mm.
Dude, you would love Babe Rainbow. Or I mean, they're more poppy and melodic, but
I can get down with that.
But they've still got some very weird stuff. If I'm not mistaken, I think their first album was maybe produced by Stu McKenzie. Maybe I'm wrong from King Gizzard.
That makes sense.
But they have a more of like a poppy kind of sound. But like Babe Rainbow is from Australia. Tame Impala. I mean, like, it's just, there's so many.
Unknown Mortal Orchestra?
Unknown Mortal Orchestra. Well, I think technically.
Or is that New Zealand?
I think it's New Zealand.
Okay.
But,
well,
they're mostly based here. But there's a smaller band called Richard in Your Mind that's from Australia that's like psychedelic that I really like.
And then Emil and the Sniffers. The Murlocs, which is members from Gizzard doing a more kind of punk outfit. Like,
there's a lot of great psychedelic music in Australia. Melbourne in general, I'm like, I would love to live there.
It's hard to believe because the drug laws are so harsh. You usually kind of find psychedelic where, like, well, at least traditionally, it was like, oh, yeah, Haight-Ashbury, that's where it all was.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to kind of talk about that because that's, something we have in common. Well, we're kind of at the end, so if you want to plug anything, maybe mention your Instagram again, personal or band.
The band is at Crispin Wah Music, CRISPINWAH Music, and that's for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that. My personal one is Brother Brown, Bruther Brown. That's how I was able to get away with no numbers or underscores. Just put the U in there. Wednesday nights, 9 p.m., twitch.tv/CurioLab, Brother Brown's Baked Beats. Thursday nights, 10 p.m., Monochrome Sweatsuit hosting a show called Loop Room, which is fire. You got to check that one out too.
Yeah.
Sinem's channel is got_Thal. He also does Twitch streaming, which Thal is a band. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't know that.
It's a pretty brutal band, but that's he's into that kind of stuff, which it's fine with me.
Yeah.
That makes him have interesting riffs and stuff. King Fractal, spelled like it is, on Instagram. He's the drummer for Crispin Wah. He's going to start streaming soon. So yeah, I mean, we're just adapting over here. We're just really trying to navigate through these weird waters, and this is this is it. Got an album coming out, single.
Nice.
We're moving. We're moving.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you can find us, PsychoActivision, on Instagram at PsychoActivision. You can find us on YouTube. And aside from that, you can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. And we really enjoy y'all coming in. And dude, it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed this conversation. And
Thanks for having me.
it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. Thanks.
Peace.